Part 151. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yun Suya. Chapter 1501. Chapter 1501 Extra Chapter of Xiaofeng and His Wife, 27. Yu Lingfeng suddenly wanted to laugh. If Chu Shenxiu knew that his nephew, whom he had not yet met, had started calling him turtle doves, his lungs would probably explode. Yu Lingfeng had a phone call with Chu Shenxiu some time ago and found that even after so many years, Chu Shenxiu had not changed at all and was still so childish. Or rather stupidly. After changing their clothes, Xia Ying and the others said something to Luo Xin and went out. Several people made an appointment to meet in a park. There is an amusement park next to the park, which is perfect for children like Xiajin. As soon as Xiajin saw Chu Shengming and Tanguoer, she sweetly called her uncle and aunt, making Tanguoer blush. After all, they were not married yet, and she was not considered Xiajin's aunt. Chu Shengming, who has a wooden face that has no expression all year round, when he sees Xiajin, he rarely smiles, tugs at Xiajin's face, and praises him for looking cute. After chatting for a while, Xia Ying and Tanguoer took Xiajin to the amusement park. Yu Lingfeng and Chu Shengming were walking and chatting in the park. Yu Lingfeng and Chu Shengming chatted for a few words, and Chu Shengming finally got to the point. "Tell me, what happened in the past 6 years, are you and Sakura not together?" In fact, Chu Shengming had always felt this way, but he was not sure. He knew that Tanguoer and the others had made an appointment with Xia Ying to reminisce about old times, and such a scene happened. After Tanguoer went home and told Chu Shengming only then did he become more and more determined to think about what he had been thinking for many years. What he thought was right, something must have happened to the two of them, otherwise Xia Ying wouldn't be so abnormal. Moreover, Xia Ying has always been filial, and she has not been home for so many years, which makes people feel suspicious. But only the person involved knows what happened. Yu Lingfeng pursed her lips, smiled softly, and looked at Chu Shengming with a pair of deep eyes. "If I told you, would you believe it?" Chu Shengming vaguely realized something, hesitated for a moment, and nodded firmly, "Let her." Yu Lingfeng had no need to lie to him. Yu Lingfeng then found out where the dragon was coming from and told Chu Shengming everything. After hearing this, Chu Shengming didn't speak for a long time. He kept his head lowered. After thinking for a long time, he said in a low voice, "If I had known that something like this would happen from the beginning, I would never have let Xia Ying marry him." "For you?" Chu Shengming looked at Yu Lingfeng with firm eyes, not like he was joking. Yu Lingfeng smiled bitterly. He naturally understood Chu Shengming. After all, once he leaves like this, there is indeed a high possibility that he will not be able to come back. "I know." Yu Lingfeng smiled self-deprecatingly. "She has been waiting for you for 6 years alone, with her children." Yu Lingfeng didn't make a sound, but he felt that the insects on the roadside were noisy, which made him feel a little restless. "Yes. Do you know? I heard from 13 that Jun Chenai has always liked Xia Ying, even if she has married you." Chu Shengming paused and continued, "Actually, if it wasn't you, Xia Ying she will be with Jun Chenai. Moreover, she will not spend the previous 6 years in that way." Sheng felt distressed when he meditated. A girl in her early 20s was traveling around various countries with a child. In order to keep that secret, that illusory agreement, she gave up everything in her life and was alone in a foreign country. During this period, how difficult was it for her to be alone? End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yun Suya. Chapter 1502. Chapter 1502 Extra Chapter of Xiaofeng and His Wife, 28. Yu Lingfeng listened with some sobs in her throat. "I know, so I will never leave Xia Ying, mother and son again." Chu Shengming looked at Yu Lingfeng and said word by word, biting hard, "I won't give you such a chance again." Since you married her, treat her well. She is the little princess of our entire family. She has been supported and supported by her since she was a child. She has never suffered any hardship and has never been wronged. I will never allow you to let her taste pain. I know. Yu Lingfeng said, holding his lowered fist. Chu Shenming sighed heavily and said to himself, when I first saw you, I knew that you were not an ordinary person. I was not surprised that Xiaoying liked you later, but I never knew that Xiaoying liked you. Sakura and you are together, is it right or wrong? I will use my time to answer this question. Chu Shenming stopped talking and just looked at Yu Lingfeng deeply. After a while, Yu Lingfeng thought of something. How have Jun Chenai been these past few years? He has a girlfriend in the industry. He has been dating her for 4 years and their relationship is quite stable. Chu Shenming paused, and then added meaningfully, he is the captain of the Smile Group, and he looks somewhat similar to Sakura. Yu Lingfeng took a deep breath of air, and the two of them walked silently, saying no more. After a while, Xiaojin ran towards them, shouting, Daddy, Uncle, there are fireworks over there. Xiaoying and Tanguo followed behind, fearing that Xiaojin would fall if she ran too fast. Xiaoying also kept yelling at Xiaojin to slow down. Yu Lingfeng and Chu Shenming did hear the sound of fireworks, but they were both emotionless people and were not very interested. However, Xiaojin came over specifically to tell them, and held their hands to let them go over to see. They had no choice but to go with Xiaojin. Oh, you go faster, the fireworks will be gone soon. Xiaojin kept urging. Chu Shenming asked, does Xiaojin like fireworks very much? Yes, very beautiful. Xiaojin continued, Mama also likes fireworks. When Xiaojin was young, Mom would hold Xiaojin and watch the fireworks. Xiaojin's words made both Yu Lingfeng and Chu Shenming laugh. Isn't Xiaojin just a child now? Chu Shenming asked with a smile. When you were younger? Xiaojin said seriously, I couldn't walk at that time. These words frightened Chu Shenming, and then he suddenly turned his head to look at Yu Lingfeng. Yu Lingfeng seemed to be unaware of anything and still looked at Xiaojin with a smile. Until Chu Shenming stretched out his hand and tugged Yu Lingfeng's sleeve and asked him, don't you think it's strange? I heard Xiaoying say that Xiaojin can walk in 10 months, but he still remembers what happened at that time. Shouldn't you? Who knows that after Xiaojin heard Chu Shenming's words, he turned around and looked at Chu Shenming and said, why, Xiaojin still remembers many things. Chu Shenming was even more surprised now. Yu Lingfeng looked very calm and met Chu Shenming's eyes, Xiaojin is my son, so these things are actually normal. Chu Shenming frowned and muttered, I have to find time to test this child's intelligence level. It turns out that he not only looks smart, he is actually a little genius. Xiaojin, I blame you for being too smart. Chu Shenming, blame your father. Rightward arrow. Rightward arrow. Yu Lingfeng. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuan Suya. Chapter 1503. Chapter 1503 Extra Chapter of Xiaofeng and His Wife, 29. Yu Lingfeng and Chu Shenming followed Xiaojin all the way to the square to watch the fireworks. They were indeed beautiful fireworks. In the dark night sky, the gorgeous fireworks use the residual heat of short life to bring a fleeting but beautiful moment. Yu Lingfeng and Xiaoying stood side by side, Chu Shenming and Tanguo stood together, and Xiaojin, a small one, stood in the middle, holding Yu Lingfeng with one hand and holding the other hand. Xiaoying. From time to time, he looked up at the two of them and saw the splendor of the night sky reflected in their eyes. Yu Lingfeng's mind at this moment echoed Chu Shenming's words again. Yu Lingfeng turned his face sideways and looked at Xiaoying's profile. Xia Ying smiled faintly, her eyebrows were gentle and clear. From that beautiful face, it was impossible to tell what she had experienced in these years, because all the time, as long as Yu Lingfeng was by her side, she seemed to be forever so beautiful, never complaining or gloomy. Yu Lingfeng let go of Xiaojin's hand and hugged Xia Ying's shoulders. Xia Ying was stunned for a moment. When she realized what she was doing, her head was already leaning on Yu Lingfeng's shoulder. From now on, we will never be separated. Yu Lingfeng whispered this in a low voice. Although the voice was small, it was just enough to reach Xia Ying's ears. Xia Ying's eyes were shining brightly, and she replied in a hoarse voice, "Okay." Xiaojin looked up at them and chuckled. On the other side, Chu Shengming looked in the direction of Yu Lingfeng and Xia Ying. Although his eyes obviously contained a lot of things to say, he didn't say them out in the end. He just turned his head and looked at the sky again. Although fireworks are beautiful, they only last for a moment. After the hustle and bustle, there was endless tranquility and dead silence. If Chu Shengming had to choose, he would not choose to be a fireworks. Of course, he doesn't want Xia Ying's love to be like those fireworks. He knew how much Xia Ying liked Yu Lingfeng, and it was precisely because of this that Chu Shengming was so angry at Yu Lingfeng's departure. The night tonight is particularly beautiful. After staying at Luo Xian's house for more than half a month, Xia Ying and Yu Lingfeng left. Before leaving, Xiaojin promised that she would visit her grandparents every month, which made Xia Chuanhai and Luo Xian happy. Ah! Soon it will be the wedding of Chu Shengming and Tang Guo'er. Xia Ying and Yu Lingfeng want to go there to see if they can help, and at the same time prepare gifts for the newlyweds. Xia Ying kept thinking about what to give as a gift on the way back. At first, she mentioned several options, but she rejected them all. After all, one is her favorite and most caring cousin, and the other is her good friend and bestie for many years. With dual identities, Xia Ying doesn't know what gift can be both grand and thoughtful. "Why don't you send them a song?" Yu Lingfeng suddenly spoke. Xia Ying was startled and looked at Yu Lingfeng. "Send a song?" "Yeah." Yu Lingfeng nodded. "It goes without saying that the quality of your music works, and you haven't done anything for so many years, so you just took this opportunity to return to the music industry. It seems pretty good, but if I only send one song, wouldn't it seem too little?" Xia Ying frowned and thought. "Since our family is giving them gifts, we can't just let you do it alone." What do you mean?" Xia Ying looked at Yu Lingfeng in confusion. End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuan Suya. Chapter 1504. Chapter 1504 Extra chapter of Xiafeng and his wife, 30. You give them a song, and Xiaojin, and I will give them a robot. Yu Lingfeng said it very easily, as if being a robot was a trivial matter not worth mentioning. After hearing this, Xiaojin immediately sat up straight, her eyes shining. "Really, Dad, do you want to teach Xiaojin how to make a robot?" Yu Lingfeng smiled and nodded. "Xiaojin can help Dad." "Good." Xiaojin seemed very excited and clapped her hands repeatedly. 11 Ju, who had been silent on the side, heard this and turned to look at Yu Lingfeng. "Master, are you going to be a little companion for me?" Yu Lingfeng shook his head. "You are too difficult to do. It took me 2 years to do you. Besides, there is no need to give them such a simulated robot. I am afraid that Tanguo or it's scary. Just make a normal robot that can be a housekeeper." "But, is there enough time?" Xia Ying looked at the time and saw that there were less than 10 days left. "Enough." Yu Lingfeng looked so confident that Xia Ying no longer had any doubts. "And I can help too." 11 Ju took the initiative to ask for help, then thought about it and scratched his head, although it sounds weird. He is also a robot himself, and he also helps people make robots. Ha ha ha. Xiao Jin laughed loudly on the side. After Yu Lingfeng and Xia Ying discussed it, they locked themselves in the laboratory as soon as they got home, and from time to time asked 11 Ju to buy him some materials. Xiaojin was originally very shocked and admired that Yu Lingfeng could make a robot. Now that he can see it with his own eyes and participate in it, the little guy doesn't know how happy he is. In addition to eating, sleeping, and going to the toilet, he has to take a bath every day. In Yu Lingfeng's laboratory, his little assistant was simply more diligent than Yu Lingfeng. Xia Ying has not been idle recently. She hasn't been exposed to music for such a long time, and Xia Ying is also a little shaky. It was not difficult for Xia Ying to write a song in 10 days. The problem was that it was a wedding gift to Chu Shengming and Tang Guo'er, and Xia Ying had extremely high requirements for herself. Xia Ying thought about it and decided to write the music first and play it at their wedding, and then write the lyrics and release it. Let the whole world be infected with their happiness, and let their happiness be passed on. While Xia Ying was writing the music, she contacted Stefan. Stefan had a video call with Xia Ying again after so many years, and he was completely speechless in surprise. During the video, Stefan kept telling Xia Ying how much he missed her. As he spoke, his eye circles were still moist, which made Xia Ying feel very uncomfortable. Xia Ying also asked Stefan to have a video call with Xiaojin. Stefan liked the cute Xiaojin very much. When Xiaojin first came into contact with music, her favorite music master was Stefan. Now that she saw him in person, Xiaojin was as excited as a star-chasing boy. Xia Ying told Xiaojin before that she knew Stefan. Xiaojin didn't completely believe it at first, but now she believes it. "Mama, are you really Stefan's senior sister?" Xiaojin asked Xia Ying in surprise because she heard that Stefan kept calling Xia Ying senior sister. Xia Ying nodded, yes. Although Xiaojin knew that Xia Ying had made music before, Xia Ying had never let Xiaojin listen to her songs and music works. Now that Xiaojin knew that Xia Ying and Stefan were from the same school, Xiaojin couldn't wait to want to listen to Xia Ying's music. End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuan Suya. Chapter 1505. Chapter 1505 Extra Chapter of Xiafeng and His Wife, 31. I want to listen to Mom's music. Xia Ying smiled, looked into Xiaojin's innocent eyes, and couldn't bear to refuse, so she took out her mobile phone, searched for her name, and then played it to Xiaojin. Xiaojin listened with her phone at first, but after listening for about a minute, she picked up the phone and put it to her ear to listen. "Mama sings so beautifully, why don't you sing now? Where is it?" "Because I have to take care of Xiaojin." Xia Ying smiled. Xiaojin pouted, and then said seriously, "Xiaojin has grown up and can take care of herself, and Daddy also needs to take care of Xiaojin. Can Mommy continue singing?" Xia Ying was warmed to her heart by Xiaojin's words. She reached out and pinched Xiaojin's cheek. "Okay, Xiaojin is so good. Can Mommy play some music for you?" Xiaojin nodded, then brought a small stool and sat down beside her obediently, listening to Xia Ying play the piano. A pair of small hands held his chin, listening with great concentration. Every time after listening to a piece of music, Xiaojin would clap her hands and applaud. "Mama plays so well, Mom's songs are all so good." Xia Ying smiled and continued playing. Xia Ying hasn't played the piano for a long time. Playing the piano again is like meeting an old friend she hasn't seen for many years. At this moment, she doesn't want to do anything but talk about old friendships with this old friend. Music is really a magical thing. No matter how many years pass by, Xia Ying's enthusiasm for it will not diminish. On the contrary, the more she understands it, the more she loves it. Yu Lingfeng heard the music and found that the little follower beside him was missing, so he followed the music to find Xia Ying and Xiaojin. Yu Lingfeng looked at the back of Xia Ying playing the piano and the serious look on Xiaojin's face as a listener. The corners of his mouth raised, revealing a gentle smile. This is the life he hopes for, the beautiful picture he desires in his heart. With Xia Ying, I also want the crystallization of their love. Just a short distance away from him, he could reach out and touch happiness. In the past 6 years, Xia Ying has given up too many things for him, and now he has to help Xia Ying find them back one by one. Xia Ying's dreams and everything Xia Ying wanted to do should not come to nothing after having Xiajin. Yu Lingfeng will do his best to help Xia Ying find what she lost. The wedding of Chu Shengming and Tang Guo'er was about to arrive. The wedding was held on a romantic island, surrounded by dreamy flower fields and blue water. When Xia Ying's family of 3 went there were very few people. Yu Lingfeng and Xiajin went over with their gifts. Xiajin and Yu Lingfeng were wearing father-son clothes today. Yu Lingfeng likes black, but Xiaojin likes white, so Yu Lingfeng had no choice but to follow Xiaojin and wear a white suit. Xia Ying wore a rose-red dress, which did not overwhelm the guests but also brought out Xia Ying's gentle and pleasant temperament and good figure. When Xia Ying's family of 3 appeared, they undoubtedly attracted everyone's attention. Chu Shengming walked towards them, then looked at the tall thing covered by red cloth pushed behind 11 Ju, and frowned. At first glance, it looked like a huge thing. It should be a wedding gift they brought. However, looking at the appearance, Chu Shengming couldn't guess what it was. "Uncle 12, why don't you wear flowers?" Xiaojin was playful, and she and Xia Ying had wandered away for some distance before she knew it. Then she hugged someone's thigh and raised her face to ask him. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuan Suya. Chapter 1506. Chapter 1506 Extra Chapter of Xiafeng and His Wife, 32. Everyone heard the sound and looked around, only to realize that Xiajin had recognized the wrong person, and they all laughed. The person being held by Xiajin turned around, looked at the porcelain doll-like child, and was stunned for a moment. Then he smiled with brows and eyes, squatted down, and pinched the little guy's face. "This little cutie of yours is Xiajin, right?" Xiajin suddenly raised her eyebrows, staring at the man with a pair of big eyes, and then suddenly realized, "Oh, you are Uncle Turtle Dove, not Uncle 12. Chu Sensiu." Chu Sensiu glanced at Xia Ying and Yu Lingfeng over there. Yu Lingfeng and Xia Ying both turned their heads in a tacit understanding, pretending not to know anything, and then communicated with Chu Shengming. "Little baby, who told you that I am Uncle Turtle Dove? I call you Uncle 13. Children should be polite and don't follow others in calling others names." Chu Sensiu educated Xiaojin seriously. Xiaojin blinked and thought for a while, but everyone calls him that, and I think Uncle Turtle Dove is cute. Chu Sensiu felt sweet in his heart, thinking that this child was indeed famous for being able to talk. Just a little silly. Chu Sensiu. Xiajin smiled mischievously, and then ran to Xia Ying and Yu Lingfeng for refuge. Chu Sensiu chased after him, and then educated Yu Lingfeng. "What a good son you taught, he is too naughty." Yu Lingfeng glanced at Chu Sensiu and then at Xiajin. "What's wrong? Stop talking." Chu Sensiu waved his hand, and the little guy Xiajin was still sticking out his tongue at Chu Sensiu. Chu Sensiu looked helpless. Why did this junior learn to bully him? "Hey, why didn't your little princess come today?" Xia Ying looked around and made sure she didn't see the little princess, so she asked Chu Sensiu. "Oh, she was pregnant and had severe morning sickness, so I didn't let her come with us." When Chu Sensiu talked about the little princess, his face was filled with smiles. "Hey, why haven't I heard you say that?" Xia Ying smiled. Chu Sensiu curled his lips and said, "What are you talking about? It's been 6 years since you left, and I haven't seen you say anything to me." Chu Shengming interrupted, "Okay, We are all about to be fathers, why are we still so childish? Chu Shenxiu didn't say anything at this time, but continued to talk about the little princess's condition. It was only found out after the test, it's only 2 months. It's not said that pregnancy can't be confirmed until 3 months, so I didn't tell you. Then you have to take good care of others during this time. Xia Ying smiled. I remember that when I was first pregnant with Xiajin, I also suffered from severe morning sickness. It didn't get better until later, but I didn't have much appetite during the entire pregnancy. Yu Lingfeng was stunned for a moment, looking at Xia Ying's expression with an intriguing meaning. This is the first time Xia Ying has talked about her own events during that period. Although she mentioned it unintentionally, and even though it was a joke, Yu Lingfeng could imagine the bitterness behind the joke. Yu Lingfeng had asked Xia Ying many times before how she was doing during those 6 years. Xia Ying always said it was fine and told Yu Lingfeng not to worry, but Yu Lingfeng knew that it would not be fine. Xia Ying just didn't want it to happen. He just felt guilty and blamed himself. Chu Shengming noticed the abnormality in Yu Lingfeng's expression and reached out to pat his shoulder. Yu Lingfeng gave Chu Shengming a slightly bitter smile. Stop talking before I was pregnant, I was holding her like a little princess, but now I'm holding her like a bodhisattva. Chu Shenxiu said. End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuan Suya. Chapter 1507. Chapter 1507 Extra Chapter of Xiafeng and His Wife, 33. Where can you find a great man like me now? Chu Shenxiu praised himself again, only Yu Lingfeng can barely compete with me. Chu Shenxiu said, patting Yu Lingfeng's shoulder. Yu Lingfeng's smile was a little stiff, but he didn't say anything. Okay, let's talk. I have to go see the bride first. Xia Ying said as she was about to leave. Xiajin followed and looked up at Xia Ying. Mama, I also want to see the bride. Okay, let's go see the bride together and see your Aunt Candy wearing a wedding dress. Xia Ying held Xiajin's hand and smiled softly. Yu Lingfeng glanced at the backs of Xia Ying and Xiaojin as they left, his eyes sparkling with light. When Xia Ying and Xiaojin arrived backstage, Tang Guo'er was already dressed up. As soon as Xia Ying walked in, she saw Tang Guo'er, who used to be soft and cute, was officially transformed into a newlywed's wearing a pure white wedding dress. Her waist was the branches are slender and barely fit into one's hand, and the exquisite figure makes people unable to take their eyes away. Tang Guo'er heard the movement and looked towards Xia Ying. The two looked at each other and smiled. Xiajin held her face and exclaimed, Aunt Candy is so beautiful, she is a little fairy today. Tang Guo'er smiled, grabbed a handful of wedding candies and gave them to Xiajin. Xiajin has a sweet mouth, I'll give you some candies. Xiaojin happily took it and replied sweetly, thank you, Aunt Candy. Xia Ying touched Xiajin's head and smiled, it's time to call me Aunt. Xiajin immediately changed her words, thank you, Aunt. Tang Guo'er's face turned red. Mu Niankai and Ye Xiaoxun came backstage soon. They sat together and chatted, watching Tang Guo'er dress up, as if they had seen themselves back then. Of the 4 of them, Tang Guo'er is the only one who is not married yet. After Tang Guo'er gets married today, the 4 of them will no longer be girls, but wives. Time flies so fast, as if the scene when they went to school together is still vivid in their minds, but now, their children are about to go to school. The next wedding went very smoothly. Under the attention of everyone, the couple made a promise, and everyone witnessed their happy moment. After the ceremony, Xia Ying's piano music played, Yu Lingfeng and Xiajin opened the curtain, revealing the robot butler. What's more interesting is that the robot butler was dancing gracefully to the music. Tang Guo'er was surprised and couldn't help but cover her mouth and laugh. Perhaps they were infected by the robot butler. Many people present began to dance. Tang Guo'er and Chu Shengming were dancing. Tang Guo'er looked at Chu Shengming with joy and said in a whisper, I finally married you. Chu Shengming smiled lightly, it's my pleasure. Tang Guo looked at the robot and smiled heartily, Yu Lingfeng is so awesome, isn't he? He can actually be a robot. Chu Shengming smiled and said nothing. If he told Tang Guo that 11 Ju was the robot made by Yu Lingfeng, Tang Guo might not know what his reaction would be. After the wedding, Xia Ying and her family went back, and Xia Ying edited a Weibo post on the way. Xia Ying, I would like to dedicate this song to my newlywed bestie at Kuoer and my dear cousin at I wish you happiness forever. In addition, the lyrics will be written and released in a few days, so look forward to it. Xia Ying's Weibo was already in trouble, but she suddenly posted a new song on Weibo, which immediately became a hot search topic. End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuan Suya. Chapter 1508. Chapter 1508 Extra Chapter of Xiafeng and His Wife, 34. Grandma. Your favorite singer from back then posted on Weibo. Also releasing new songs. Finally waiting for you. Is the goddess Xia Ying in the house going to return to the music scene? Tears streaming down my face. Back then, my phone was full of your music, and I didn't have one of my favorite female singers. Please don't give up on music. The new song is so exciting. The goddess Xia Ying is stunning. Xia Ying girl burst into tears. At this time, Liang Ye and Qianyins also forwarded Xia Ying's Weibo. Liang Ye, Boss Xia's music, as always, touches the depths of the soul. I look forward to the new songs. Qianyins, Boss Xia, let's listen to the fans. Love you 3. Subsequently, Xia Ying received a message from Qianyins on WeChat. Does the missing person know that he has returned? Xia Ying smiled and replied, yes, I see you have become very prosperous in recent years. He is as good as the #1 male in the entertainment industry. Apart from not being able to act, he has wasted his peerless face. Do you regret selling my potential cash cow stock to Jun Chennai? Are you planning to come back now? Xia Ying could feel Qianyin's sullen face through the screen. Ha ha ha, what are you thinking about? Work hard and try to become a national male by the end of the year or something. Qianyins curled his lips and replied to Xia Ying, if you are the national goddess, I will be the national god. I originally thought that Xia Ying would take back the Thornbird Entertainment Company when she came back. After all, it was founded by her. However, after being acquired by Jun Chennai, it has become the Shengding Thornbird Entertainment Company. Its quality has changed. It's not the same taste as before. Qianyins was a little depressed. Well, he could have come back if Xia Ying said so, but what if the old boss was too unfeeling and had no intention of continuing to want them? Heartache. After a while, Qianyins thought of something again and sent Xia Ying, by the way, do you have any news about 11 Ju? When Xia Ying saw the news, she subconsciously looked up at 11 Ju, who was still concentrating on explaining planet knowledge to Xiajin. What's wrong? Xia Ying replied to him. Nothing, it's just weird. It's like you made an appointment and disappeared together. I haven't been able to contact 11 Ju in the past few years, so I just wanted to know if you guys left together. After all, the relationship between 11 Ju and Yu Lingfeng is extraordinary. Yes. Xia Ying had no choice but to reply like this. Xia Ying thought of the news reports she had seen a few days ago. Qianyins now has a new boyfriend. The man is an outsider, and Qianyins also intended to protect him and did not send out frontal photos. The media also failed to take a few clear photos. Then how is he now? Qianyins sent another message. If you want to know, ask yourself. Xia Ying glanced at 11 Ju again, and this time her eyes met. Somehow, 11 Ju knew that Xia Ying was chatting with Qianyins just by seeing that look in her eyes. Zihu immediately lowered his head and didn't ask anything. He just continued to explain to Xiaojin as if nothing had happened. Qianyin's on the other side of the screen showed a hopeless expression as he typed a reply to Xia Ying. Forget it, I think he should be fine. Xia Ying deleted the words she had just typed one by one, then secretly took a profile photo of 11 Ju and sent it to Qianyin's. Qianyin's on the other end burst into tears when he saw 11 Ju's profile photo. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yuan Suya. Chapter 1509. Chapter 1509 Extra chapter of Xiafeng and his wife, 35. Although I haven't seen that face for many years, when I encounter it again, it is still exactly the same as the face deep in my memory. Every time I saw him, it was like the first time I saw his heartbeat. Qianyin's covered his heart and put down his mobile phone. He felt as if thousands of steel needles had been inserted into his heart. Even taking a breath was painful. What's the matter, Azaya? Qianyin's looked back at the man with a dimple-like smile. His gentle smile was so beautiful that people couldn't bear to hurt him. Qianyin's returned him an equally beautiful smile. It's nothing, I just felt a little emotional after seeing some things on Weibo. You are just too involved in writing songs recently, so your emotions fluctuate so easily. The other party's voice was as gentle as milk tea. Qianyin smiled and stood up. The new album we have agreed with our fans must be released, right? You're putting too much pressure on yourself. You're already so popular, so why do you have to work so hard? His tone was full of distress, with a hint of anger. Qianyin sighed lightly, because I am becoming more and more popular and more people like me, I have to have higher and higher requirements for myself. I have to be worthy of every one of them, can't let them down. He smiled, knowing that he could not defeat Qianyin's, so he did not say any more. Instead, he handed the chrysanthemum tea he had just brewed to Qianyin's. Moisten your throat. Qianyin's took it with a smile, took a sip and walked to the piano again. Putting his hands on the keys, he hesitated for a while, and there seemed to be an indescribable warm current flowing through his heart. His mind was blank, and he had no clue for several days, but suddenly inspiration came to him. Qianyin's turned his head, and he was still smiling at him, as if he would be very happy just to see Qianyin's. Qianyin's felt a trace of bitterness in his heart, and his hands began to beat on the keys, and a piece of sentimental but still moving music played. Just after Qianyin's played a piece, the man who was sitting not far away and had been watching him smile silently, his smile suddenly froze. He once asked Qianyin's why so many people like him, why Qianyin's chose him who was not outstanding among them. Qianyin's answered him seriously at that time, because there are not many people who really understand my music, and you are one of them. He always thought the sentence was a compliment, but at this moment, he suddenly didn't want to understand this music or Qianyin's heart at this moment. The smile on his lips became increasingly bitter. Xia Ying asked Xiaojin to invite all the children in the kindergarten to attend Xiaojin's birthday. However, on that day, Xia Ying discovered that Xiaojin had only invited Xiao Kong. Xiaojin is the only boy in the kindergarten who has a common language. Xia Ying asked Xiaojin, why don't you invite more children? Xiaojin replied seriously, I am just one friend, the others are not my friends. Why? Xia Ying doesn't understand why Xiaojin only has one friend. As far as Xia Ying knows, the kindergarten teacher said that Xiaojin is the most popular boy in the kindergarten. Many girls like Xiaojin very much and want to be friends with Xiaojin. However, Xiaojin is a flower on a high mountain, which can only be seen from a distance but cannot be played with. Girls don't dare to get close to him because Xiaojin always looks like she's repelling people thousands of miles away. End of this chapter. The Return of the National Goddess. Author, Yun Suya. Chapter 1510. Chapter 1510 Extra Chapter of Xiaofeng and his wife, 36. Different road non-phase plan. After Xiaojin said this, she ran over to play with Xiaojin. Xia Ying was petrified on the spot. Yu Lingfeng noticed Xia Ying's abnormality and came over to ask her softly what was wrong. Xia Ying was helpless. You gave birth to a good son, but his popularity is really bad. Why don't you tell me that you don't agree with me? Is this child going to become a spirit? Yu Lingfeng smiled. Didn't Xiaojin say that the children in the kindergarten are too childish and he doesn't like it? Xiao Kong is also one of the little prodigies in the kindergarten. At a young age, he can already speak 4 foreign languages, and can do some simple communication in each of them. He can be said to be a language genius. Moreover, it is true that Xiaojin can only discuss some super-related issues when she is with Xiao Kong. Xiao Kong and Xiaojin have similar hobbies. They both like machines, outer space, and some challenging things, so they naturally play together. But he can't be too mature, right? Xia Ying held her forehead helplessly. She could only say that her son's childhood was really short. Now there were many things that Xia Ying could no longer play with Xiaojin. For example, in chess, since Xiaojin's opponents became Yu Lingfeng and 11 Ju, Xiaojin's level has also improved, and Xia Ying is no longer his opponent. What should I do if my son is too smart? Well, there are still many little geniuses in this world, so you don't have to be too surprised. Moreover, I am already studying how to suppress the crazy growth of Xiaojin's IQ. Yu Lingfeng comforted her, while Xia Ying shrugged, expressing her helplessness. Before Xiaojin, the person with the highest IQ in Xia Ying's life was Chu Shengming. However, when she met Xiaojin, Xia Ying realized what it meant to have someone outside the world. This girl is too scary. Fortunately, the other half of her genes came from her. If Xiaojin completely inherited Yu Lingfeng's monster brain, Xia Ying would go crazy. As for Xiaojin, it is estimated that it will also be reported as social news. After all, he still has to go to school. As a child, he doesn't know how to hide his level. Fortunately, Yu Lingfeng is here. I hope he can really find a way to suppress Xiaojin's IQ level. Can be smart, but not as scary as a genetic mutation. Xia Ying glanced in Xiaojin's direction and saw Xiaojin and Xiao Kong studying how to make the toy car they bought a few days ago more intelligent, and said they were used to it. At this time, 11 Ju came over and told Yu Lingfeng with a plaintive look on his face that he was startled when he woke up this morning and saw Xiaojin next to his bed. Fortunately, he didn't have a tool in his hand, otherwise 11 Ju Hui thought that Xiaojin was not satisfied with the anatomy toy and wanted to operate on him. Yu Lingfeng smiled. Then what does he do? Xiaojin said you wanted to see how I sleep. 11 Ju frowned and answered reluctantly, however, I have told him countless times that the only difference between me and ordinary people is that I am a robot. The little guy didn't believe it. He stared at me like a guinea pig every day. Hold on to me and won't let go. Xiaojin seemed to have heard something, or realized that Xia Ying and the others were discussing him or something, so she raised her head and glanced here, showing her small teeth. Daddy, Mommy, Uncle Zihu, I will show you the results of me and Xiao Kong later. It's great. Xiao Kong also raised his head, nodded, and then continued to study with his head buried in it. End of this chapter.